Welcome to Feminized. It's time for a show that turns the spotlight on the powerful women shaping cannabis culture. The cannabis industry is on fire and women are sparking it up. If you like the show, please subscribe. You can also subscribe to the Feminized podcast with Liz Grow on YouTube and Instagram. The future is feminized.
Hey, sis.
You're now listening to the Feminized podcast. Welcome to the show today. I'm so excited to finally have on none other than Ranchera Mami, Sue Carlton. That's right. The queen, the founder, the owner, and the head farmer known as La Reina of Hemp. She is the first Latina in the US to create hemp genetics and is known for embodying her femininity, art, and deepening a connection to the plant through her work with agriculture. Her community work involves hosting women from all countries, hosting local workshops, speaking and presenting at cannabis and hemp events, from topics on native farming techniques like she did in Texas, to presenting scientific research on women within cannabis agriculture. Ranchera Mami truly exemplifies being a positive role model and mentor for women all over the world, especially those in cannabis. Ladies and gentlemen, Ranchera Mami Sue, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Liz. Those are such kind things that you just said. And I'm really happy to be here because I know that we've tried doing this before and my internet hasn't been good, but that's true farm life. And,
Right.
I've been jealous seeing all of my wonderful powerhouse girlfriends be on the show. And I'm like, you guys are so amazing. And I think that, being able to captivate these amazing pioneers that are females and being one of them, it feels like a really huge honor. So thank you so much for having me here today.
Absolutely. It is a huge honor to have you here. And you just gave me a thought. Like, I have so much B-roll of you. I have so much content of you because I've been such a fan of yours for so many years that we're still going to do a video podcast here. All right. I just think that our audience is going to enjoy B-roll and beautiful shots of Ranchera Mami, Sue Carlton doing what she does best, which is farming and connecting with the community about the beauty of this hemp or the beauty of this plant. But hemp is really, the thing that I'm most passionate about.
Yeah, I think that I really want to come back to Austin, Texas at some point in time. There's a big community that we all work with and we all support and everything like that. So
Yes.
Coming back to visit is definitely in our plans, and we want to come back to have a lot of fun and everything like that. And we can do our video podcast when I'm with you and everything like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no question.
And then obviously, we would love to have you and Patrick out here at our farm anytime that you would love to. And if, there's other women that are in the cannabis space that are interested in the, hands-on applicatory process of what it's like to be a farmer, to, have animals, to have taking care of, your nurseries, taking care of your outdoor gardens. I'd love to be able to share the experience, and help, elevate people's understanding of what we do. And, I feel like a lot of people find, a lot of appreciation and a lot of ideas being able to come out into, something that is just super supportive of somebody's mental health, their physical health, and, their careers themselves. So,
Yes.
I definitely want you to come out and come experience this for yourself of, La Vida Ranchera, like being on the farm and what it's like to wake up and have coffee and breakfast and, and then romp around the farm and all the things.
Oh my God. Yes. Oh, you're speaking to my heart. I feel like your social presence really gives the audience a good idea of what it's like to live a day in life on the farm. Like, your account is your accounts, I should say, because there are a few accounts connected with, Ranchera Familia, and then there's also Ranchera Mami. It just, you give a good idea of what it's like to be a farmer. Like, it's not fake, but it's also, you just kind of make it look glamorous, I think, because you're glamour girl.
I think that being authentic and is something that took me a really long time. Like, I don't know. I felt like finding myself for years within the cannabis space of like, how do I showcase, my product? How do I showcase my brand?
Yeah.
And, finding true love for myself. I really mean it. It's like when you find true love for yourself and you're happy with who you are, you're able to be confident and it organically comes out. And so like, we don't have to, when we let go of that standard that we have to meet this, like, oh, this is the market we need to go for. I need to go for all women. I need to go for all men. I need to go for whatever.
Yeah.
When you let your character speak for itself, your market will come. And I think it's just something that's super beautiful. And I see it within yourself and with what you're doing. I see it within what other, women are doing as well. So I feel like really that's what did it. People are always like, oh my God, how do you make these videos that have millions of views and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And I honestly, I'm just like, I'm just having fun. And I just choose to videotape right then and there. And then I put it up, and this is what I do in my everyday life. And so I'm glad that people can see that. And of course, I feel like I lived in the city for like 10 years, from San Francisco to Portland. Like, I love fashion. I'm all about it. And that's just something that like, I feel like as a farmer, there's so many farms that you look out there and you see, this certain character image of, oh, we're family, we grow, blah, blah, blah. But then it's like, there's not a lot of characters like that people could look like me or other women within the cannabis space and that feel that they have, like they could be a part of it. Like, you could rock acrylics, you can wear red lipstick, you can do your hair, you can wear your cute outfits, know that you're going to get dirty, know that you may break an acrylic. But if like, I'm just saying, I can do anything with acrylic. So I feel like I'm 10 times more badass than most people.
Yeah, no, seriously. You have learned how to just, even stretch the use of your fingertips, because when you got acrylics, you have a few extra, millimeters there. You've got like built-in tweezers.
I love it. Like you're stretching your fingertips and you're using more muscles. I love it.
That's right. And what you said was just so, God, it's just so important. Like, you're just shining a light on what you're doing, right? At the farm, being a beautiful, strong woman, and then a beautiful, strong Latina, and then a beautiful, strong farmer, but you look like you should be in a magazine. And so I think that's like the funny thing for people. Like, wait a minute, does she really do this? And I can say I met you in person. So I know that you are no bullshit, and I know that you do this. But what do you say to people who question that, whether or not you're really the head farmer, the head cultivator at Ranchera Familia?
So I'm like, if you look through my Instagram, you'll definitely see that I do every single aspect of what's going on, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I feel like if you look through my past work, if you look in the magazines that I've been featured in, you can see that I have played so many numerous roles within the industry. I have went for making, award-winning edibles for Groon, for Journeyman, Mr. Moxie Mints, to being featured as Patient of the Month in Oregon Leaf, and, having all these things like build up over the years and being showcased in these ways. I'm like, my work speaks for itself.
Right.
And the honest, like, it feels kind of funny to me because I'm like, people don't question me face to face about it. Now, when I'm at events and say, for instance, somebody doesn't know who I am and there's a bunch of men standing around and they're all talking about blah, 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 blah. I have to tell myself, and it's important because we'll all be in a place that you will feel small, you will feel intimidated. But if you're knowledgeable and passionate about what you're doing, that's definitely going to shine through. And
Yeah.
so it's like, I have no problem being like, I have a farm, I make genetics. I think that what you're doing is super, super amazing. I've been doing this for 10 years as well. I give respect for the people that have been doing this for 20 years. It's 5 years, 30 years,
Right.
they're generational farmers, whatever it is. And so I think that a lot of times that my presence itself, I carry myself, I stand upright. Like, I don't know what it is. I come from a military family and like I
Yeah.
stand upright. I find myself to have very good diction. I want to be confident again with how I am appearing and how I dress, right?
Yes.
So a lot of times when I come off, I feel like I can be very loud and I'm assertive and I tell them like, I'm very direct with what I say. And I feel like the respect is there. Now, do people make
Beautiful.
jokes and all of those things? Yeah, of course. I get the jokes all the time. And
Like being the lady
it
farmer, the
and
farmer in
that's
lipstick.
that's just it's the being the lady farmer and red lipstick and acrylics and wearing cute outfits and everything like that. And I don't even have the time of day for it anymore. I mean, if somebody says something like
Right.
that to me on Instagram and they're like, "Oh, she doesn't even like it doesn't even look like she gardens." I'm like, "All right, black." Black, black, black. I do
Block,
not care.
bye.
I'm like, and it doesn't matter if it's a guy or if it's a girl.
No.
I'm like, if you're a woman in this cannabis space, and I learned this, I had tough lessons because when you're in this industry for 10 years and you're coming into it when you're in your early 20s and you're
Mhm.
growing yourself like as an individual and trying to, find how to be a good human, you're going
Yeah.
to learn a lot of shit. And I've made a lot of mistakes. And I've been in that spot where I've told people, oh, it doesn't look like she grows or blah, 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 blah.
Hmm.
But you know what? You got to learn from that. And you got to just realize that, like, you're not being supportive. And if you're a female, especially if you're a female, the
Yes.
narrative of how somebody looks and how that affects their proficiency or efficiency needs to stop.
Thank
It needs
you.
to stop from like all levels,
Thank
from
you.
somebody judging somebody being, wearing sexy
Hmm.
lingerie, looking like a fine ass, mamacita.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
love it. If you want to cover
Yeah.
your body up and you want to look a certain way, I love it.
Yes.
Whatever makes you feel confident because it's your brand. It's who you are. Like I
Yeah.
want I want my friends to be happy. I want them to be happy. And it's a bad reflection if you sit in the narrative of envious conversation and
Oh,
jealousy and
thank
you know
you.
what I'm
Thank
saying?
you. I know what you're saying. It's like what you really hit the nail on the head by saying like don't judge my proficiency and efficiency based on the clothes that I'm wearing right now in this instance or this post that you're seeing or whatever else you want to use to place labels on me because I think ultimately it's people are comfortable with stereotypes as much as we like to talk about hating them. We sure do, promote them on a daily basis when we make little comments on, about people's like effectiveness as a grower or people's knowledge base about the plant, just because they're not some tatted up book or whatever.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
really think that, it's that's not what this plant is just like limitless, it's just kind of that small thinking. But for all of the voices in the space, you are definitely that one for me who was just like, no, fuck no, be glamorous and love the plant and get your hands dirty. You don't have to be one or the other to be taken seriously. I think about your love for the plant. Like that's really kind of one of the lasting impressions I think you've made on me.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I really hope that resonates with people
Yeah.
and what we're all doing. And I mean, it's kind of cliche to be like, let the good vibes go, like, let them
Right.
flow,
Right.
and you'll shine regardless, like if you have that in you, you're going to shine.
Yes. Yes,
And it's not
absolutely.
anybody else's doing. So it don't matter what they're doing. Mind your own fucking business and focus on yourself.
Thank you. Y'all better put that advice in your pocket because I know that I am. I'm going to carry it with me.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm super super interested, Sue. Where did the love of farming come from? Because it's not just something that, you wake up one day and you're like, oh, I think I want to be a farmer. I'm going to try it. It's kind of like a
So
lifelong thing.
yeah. So I am from North Carolina originally, the coast. And I mentioned earlier, I'm a military kid. Both of my parents are veterans. But both of my parents grew up the farm life. And so my mom's father was a cattle farmer. My dad's grandfather was also a cattle farmer, and he was the largest cattle farmer up in the state of Washington. And
Wow.
won Cattleman of the Award, Cattleman of the Year awards and everything like that. So, although I didn't grow up in a farming community, I grew up with family that loved to just garden in general. Both of my mom and my grandfather, their yards are just absolutely beautiful. My dad's yard is beautiful. They're
Mm.
were always really interested in that. But to be honest, I'll tell you, I did not want anything to do with that growing up. I thought that, you know, I loved cooking and I loved baking. And I wrote a cookbook when I was 18. And that was my, senior project that I worked on. And I'd host parties. And in the cookbook, it was at my parties, I would throw, cannabis into everything. So I'm like holding these edible parties, like dinner parties when I'm like 17, 18 years old in my
Awesome.
house. And my grandparents are like, oh, what's that smell? And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, I got a little herb that I put in there. And I had just, kind of had my eyes set on being, this medical like confectioner, and, watched all these documentaries, and I was like, okay, out west is where I need to go. And so eventually when I moved out west and I started to live in Oregon, I was working, or was going to school, and one of the girls that was in my classes was like, hey, if you want to make some extra money, maybe you want to come and like trim with me, like at my house. And I was just like, oh, wow, that's like super cool. Like this
Yeah.
lady wants, like, she grows weed in her basement, and I'm going to go trim with her. And so that was like my first introduction to the plant. And then from there, I found myself with, I didn't get to do a lot of plant touching like for years. There was still the rhetoric of women do not belong in the gardens. They are a distraction. Straight up. They're a distraction. That's what I
Wow.
was told. I was told that, my place was in the trim room, and if anything, I could be, a trim ma. And so I'm like, I'm working in Oregon, Southern Oregon. I'm working in Northern California.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I had a few people that along the way, they let me water. I was like, oh yeah, I get to water. I was like, I'm gonna spend
Whoa.
8 hours watering 500 plants that are in like 300-gallon pots, like on a hot ass day. And I was
Wow.
so excited. And so I continued through, my evolution of things. And one of the facilities that I worked, when things went legal, was working for Groon, and they had a recreational cannabis farm. And so I started to help her husband out on the cannabis side of the farm. And he was like, do you want to clone, like teaching me all of these amazing, parts of it. And so like that was my first cloning experience. That was my first like planting,
Wow.
watering, everything like that. And then they made me choose which job I wanted, because they were like, okay, Sue, we need you back at the chocolate factory. And then, her husband's like, but we want you at the farm. And I hurt his feelings because I chose chocolate at the time. So fast
Oh,
forward, fast forward a little bit later, I broke my hand and I realized I can never go back to doing repetitive motions. I broke it in several spots. So
mm,
I couldn't go back to doing this repetitive it's a chocolate motion. I don't know how there's different chocolate motions, but they're all repetitive and
yeah,
strenuous, like on your hands.
yeah.
So I started helping my friends out at the first female owned and operated garden in Oregon. And that's really where I was just like, this is so therapeutic. I was like,
Yes.
my body wasn't hurting anymore. Like was feeling so mentally better because I got so depressed thinking that I could never be a chocolatier again. Like I could
Oh,
never, like
yeah.
I couldn't do it. And I was like, well, who am I, at that point? And so that's really what pushed me to my journey and to eventually, going down the road after consulting for a few like more companies on various aspects. I'm like, I'm working for people consulting on their hemp flower and or consulting um on food and safety regulations for their industrial kitchens in Oregon, and then consulting on their edible recipes. And they're showing me their hemp flower. And I'm like, this is
Mm.
disgusting. I'm like, this is moldy. It is degraded. It smells like soy sauce, like not in the good way. I love soy sauce, but this was like, you don't want your weed to like,
No, hemp's
not
not
like
supposed to
that.
smell like soy sauce. Like, no.
No, I mean maybe there would be a good terpene profile where they could make soy sauce like a soy sauce strain and it actually like smell good and taste good like a weed strain because like
Right,
that
right.
sounds like a cool name to me. But
Not if it's not engineered to smell like that.
exactly. So, you know, it ended up being something that I was just like, I can grow. I no. I had never operated a whole garden by myself. I had never set up a whole nutrient schedule, a whole whatever. And but I did it. I found a farm. I rented it out for $1,200. The barn, the apartment that's in the barn, and then I rented out a greenhouse on the property. And so I lived there, and that's where my first garden was at. And it was a 10 by 30 and I had really
Wow.
had no idea what the fuck I was doing, but I pulled it off. I got some flour from it, and it was amazing because at the time there was no greenhouse hemp flour on the market. So, and I worked, was doing things with indoor CBD flower, working on those projects. So it was really cool to be there, like at the start of, at the start of the whole US like growing hemp and all of us, being like, okay, I guess we're gonna grow. And some people went for millions of plants. They're not here. They didn't make it a year. I went for 50 plants and I'm like, I'm here. I made it. Like this
Okay.
is my sixth year as a industrial hemp farmer and owner. And it feels absolutely amazing. I feel like I've beaten the majority of the odds and I will continue to do so.
Yes, girl. Oh my God. I have no question you'll continue to do so. Wow, 6 years. Ah, I think it's just so fascinating, incredible that you went into craft hemp. And, just the green rush is very real, right? There's so much money to be made in THC and marijuana, and you're beautiful, and cannabis. Like, did you ever feel like there were forces kind of pulling you away from hemp to focus in on, the cannabis side of things? Or were you just like
So
tunnel vision?
what I had seen was that in current markets for cannabis, there's so many different regulations. So it's almost impossible if you do not have, like at the time, if you didn't have $1 million,
Mm.
you couldn't get a cannabis license in Oregon, not even a micro
Wow.
one.
Mm.
So what would somebody like me do? I'm like,
Right.
here, I want to start a farm, but I don't necessarily have all the experience that I need to do. So think about accessibility, um, what's accessible to me at this current moment. And I'm like, okay, well, a hemp license is X amount of money. I know that personally, as a medical patient that uses CBD, and that like CBD flower, that there's a lack in the market. So I do always love looking for this, openness. So like, what's the market doing? Who are all the players in it? How are they all marketing what they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
And could I potentially take my own share in some way or another. And so I just thought that, like, hemp flower, for me, it was accessible. I could do it. It was something that I didn't need to like say, hey, I need an investor for this. My first year, I started off with putting in $4,000 to start my farm. And that was my licensing that I needed. That was my rent, and pretty much a few other little tools and just like general things that I needed for the farm itself. But other than that, I'm like, I use my network, because I think it's the thing about it for somebody like myself and somebody that's in the industry in general. If you're in the industry in general, you may know farmers, you may know people that have plants, you may know people that have pots, you may know people that have all these things that you may need. And honestly, I'm the kind of person that I have no problem saying, hey, is it possible for you to give me some of those? Right?
Yes,
like
I love that.
I'm like, support my Latina minority business. And, because I'm like, guys, like, I can't afford to buy all these plants and do all this while I'm starting out. Like, and I'm not going to like ask for investors. I'm not going to ask for money from people, but I'm like, if you have extra, can I have it? And I'll help you in some kind of way. So like, and I'm not saying that I don't ask random ass people for this shit. I'm asking people that I know personally and that I help, and they help me personally. So I use the support network to build my farm, my first farm out initially. And so it would be different if I hadn't been in the cannabis industry for 6 years prior to that. I would probably not have had, like, I wouldn't have known that this farm was renting out their apartment in their barn, and that they were willing to let me grow hemp in the greenhouse that's on their property. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
I wouldn't have known that. I wouldn't have gotten my plants from people, So I'm like, those were two really huge things. And it was my friends that made it happen, and these resources. So it is really important to, make yourself busy, connect with others, work with others in general.
Yeah, I think that it not only amplifies your brand and the love for your brand, because people are, working on behalf of your brand, even just by, giving you some pots or giving you, some soil. I mean, it's just helping you on your way and helping you, build your company. I feel like the product at the end of the day is just like so much better when there are more people collaborating on it. Even if they weren't touching the plant, obviously you were the farmer, you did all the growing, but knowing that these pots came from your friends who were really excited to support you, that must have like felt really good. And I'm sure that transfers into the plants.
Oh yeah. I think energy and everything like that, I feel like it plays a really big role, into your production of what you're going to, like, what your output's going to be like. I'm super big on that at my farm in general, and just making sure that things are conducive, and that the energy around the plants is at its best. Because I don't know what it is, but I'm like, I feel like it's not good for the plants, and it's not good for you.
No.
And if you're not doing good as a farmer, and you're not taking care of yourself mentally and making sure that you're strong, like in your head, you'll probably, have more of a negative outcome of just, maybe feeling more fatigued and everything like that. I do have to say, like, as farmers in general, like, the suicide rate amongst farmers just in general in the United States it's the highest. Like out of all occupations, farmers are more likely to commit suicide, right?
I'm so
So
glad that you're
it's
mentioning this.
super
Thank you for
tough.
bringing this up. What's the
Yeah,
deal?
of
Talk
course,
to us a
because
little bit about that. Why would they take their own lives?
so there's a few things. When it comes to farming, there's people that their whole livelihood, their whole, feeding their families, making sure that they can keep their farm, be able to do another year's production, sometimes solely relies off of that harvest itself. And so in the early days when hemp became, legal for people to grow, the first 2 years, there was a really, you know, it was really unfortunate because there was a lot of articles that were, being, posted around about this farmer taking their life and this hemp farmer taking their life. And the reality is that a lot of people were taking in investment money and failing crops.
Oh, and they
And
can't pay
they
that
were
investment money
nervous because
back.
they weren't able to pay their investors back. And I mean, I'm talking about anywhere between $50,000 to millions of dollars where these farmers couldn't pay things back and they decided to take their own life over something like that. The other things that play into it is that farmers work really long days. We don't have the availability to do 9 to 5s on Monday through Friday. When you farm every single day. You don't get holidays off. You don't you can go take a vacation. You can go do things like that, but it's still stressful. There's still worries, because you know your plants the best and your growers know the plants the best, So it's a lot of work. And the reality is that most of the time people are working out in isolated areas. So you're already not getting enough social exposure. Thank God. I had to say this. I love social media for this one reason. I am not alone because I have friends all over the world that I can see what they're doing today. I can talk to you like in this video. Like, I love it because I am, realistically, I'm like, I have my man, I have my friends that come out and visit, but you spend so much time working alone. And you can either find it to be very meditative or you can get very withdrawn and not want to socially be around people, not want to share your feelings. Sometimes you can get really in your head because you're alone so much. So you'll just keep thinking about something. So it's like, if your drug usage is not on point, like if you're utilizing things that could be causing you to have heavy imbalances of ups and downs, it can be really detrimental to farmers. Drinking too much on farms, like every farm that I know, like I love my cocktails. I'll be honest. Like I love cocktails. I love having a glass of wine. Everything in moderation though. But every farm that I ever go to loves to drink, loves to drink. And so drinking is really prevalent on the farming side of things. And it just kind of like, it could be causation versus correlation right now. And I'm not trying to say it like whatever, but culturally speaking, as somebody that's been and that has been to thousands of farms, I know the culture. I know what goes down. It's fun. It's a party, but it can be a lot. And there's a lot of people that will get into accidents coming off of farms. Like it's something that people don't talk about a lot on on the mental health side of things. And so if you're overutilizing any kind of substances that are mind altering in any way, shape, or form, and you're not doing this in moderation, you're not eating healthy, you're not exercising, you're not maintaining good friendships, relationships, it's going to be a lot. And so I've been there personally myself. I know thousands of other farmers that have been there too. So when it comes to it's all a big party at a farm, if you're not putting yourself first and you're not putting the farm first, then you're setting yourself up for, you're setting yourself up for a very, very dramatic year and very stressful time and maybe mismanagement of a bunch of shit. And so overall, it's a lot on the mind.
Yeah.
And so I think that farmers in general, we we have all of those different, not so much exposures to like so much as like reality, like, oh, there's this world that exists outside of us and blah blah blah.
Right.
So I mean, like for me, I meditate every single day. Like I have like sound bath therapy in the evening time. In the morning times I wake up, I take like an hour to myself. I normally go down to the garden and I do like a little walkthrough, and then I walk back up, and it's like it's kind of a long walk, and it's a really steep hill, so it's like my little mini exercise to like start my daytime. But I do that 3 times a day just because I want to keep myself actively moving, actively, getting this, like this release and everything like that. And then I think it's important to find hobbies outside of the garden and outside of your farm itself. So these are my tips to not committing suicide as a farmer, but just in general, keeping a healthy mindset as a farmer is, so like crafts for me, I'm like, I love to make things. So if I'm not cooking something, I want to make something, and I want to put my hands to like use. And I see a lot of cool things like online. And then I think about how I can do that with like hemp or CBD or cannabis or whatever it is. And I'm like, I should do that because I want it for myself. I'm like, oh, that doesn't exist. I'm going to make this for myself.
I love it. You're such a pioneer woman. I love that. But that's what it is. Necessity is the mother of invention. And that's what you're committed to. But I absolutely am grateful for your voice in this conversation of farmer mental health. Like this is such valuable, helpful information that I hope so many farmers, men or women, are hearing right now. Like truly take time for yourself. Got a routine. Yes.
Third thing, self-care. You need to give yourself self-care. The reason why I do my makeup, the reason why I get my outfits cute is because if you're just visiting your garden every day or visiting another farm or, live in the mountains or the country or whatever, you need to appreciate yourself in the highest form.
Before I let you go back to your day and back to your garden and back to your life, I have to ask you the Feminized 3, Sue. Okay. These are the same three questions I ask all of my guests because I'm just so fascinated with the answers and I'm dying to hear your answers to these 3 questions. Okay. So, number 1, tell me, Sue Carlton, who is in your dream smoke circle? 3 people, dead or alive. It could also be cartoons or real, narrative characters. It's your smoke circle. Who's in it?
Okay. Yogi the Bear, Scooby, and Frida. That's who I want.
What? Amazing. Sue, you are always a pioneer. And I have to tell you, you are the first guest on, you're going to be episode 81, and nobody has ever given me a cartoon character, and you've given me 2.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, at first I thought of Scooby, and then I was like, but Yogi Bear is cool too. I know he smokes pot because he fucking steals all the picnics and stuff like that. I'd like to have a picnic with him and smoke some weed.
He's always got the munchies. Now, why Frida?
Because Frida is she was a 19th or 20th century Mexican painter. She was known for kind of like breaking the boundaries of like her work itself. So like from her work of painting to being in portraits, her work kind of calls like it didn't necessarily adhere to like the gender like stereotype of like what somebody should look like as like, like as a female and how
Right.
to act as a female. And she was like super rebellious. She had like a husband and he was like always trying to tell her what to do. And she's like, dude, I'm going to wear trousers. Okay. Like, suck it. Okay. I'm going to wear this pretty dress and I'm going to smoke this like cigarette. And I have this kind of unibrow and I'm just going to fucking rock it,
Yeah.
And I love it because I feel like as a painter, during that time and as a wife and just, this kind of like upper socialite, she was meant to, she was supposed to look and act a certain way. And I really like how she just defied all of that.
Yeah.
And I feel like
Yeah.
she is an inspiration to a lot of Latinas
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of women in general. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I know this bitch smoked weed. Like if with the shit
Oh
that she
yeah.
was like painting and everything like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Oh God, I hear that. That's a good circle. That's a really good circle, sis. Man, yeah, Frida was a trip. Frida was a trip. I oftentimes I kind of want to, I don't even know if this is politically correct, but I would love to have like a feminized seance and see if we can't talk to some of these women. Like, why not?
Like, yeah, that would be funny. I like
Right?
it.
Let's try. Let's just like, get a Ouija board and try. Okay, it could be a good night. We'll have a smoke circle anyway. Okay, so question number 2. Which women in cannabis are inspiring you right now, Ranchera Mami?
Mm, alrighty. So my thing is that when anybody asks me who inspires me, is that I really honestly find inspiration from all of the women that I know, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, so like for instance, like Susie Palencia, right? The owner of
Yes.
Mota Uma, she is like a advertising press genius. She has, built her brand, has linked up with the right farm.
Mhm.
She's doing things in a way where she is very, noteworthy on the networking side of things. And so it's
Mhm.
like, I think that is so badass. I think that, my friend JM, who wrote who is an author, who is the owner of Boycott Shitty Weed. She also just,
Successful
started,
cannabis.
yeah, a
Yeah.
successful entrepreneur. I think that she is amazing because I love writing. I love that she wrote a book. She is like such an inspiration to me on that level to be able to
Yeah.
sit down, put the time in, everything like that.
Yeah.
That is, that those are all qualities. Like when I see my friends, like I think of like Jade, and Jade is like this
Yes.
unapologetically like super feminine, like I love her outfits. I love her whole, how she has branded, Smoke Lady J's,
Yeah.
everything like that, how she's a mother and she's still fucking kicking ass in this industry. I mean, like,
Yes.
I think that I'm like, she's an inspiration to me on that level because I'm like, oh shit, if this fucking bad bitch can have a kid, like, so can I, and still be
Yes.
a fucking bad bitch and run my businesses. Like, I'm gonna do it all. So, like, there's so many people that I always think of, like, including yourself. I'm like,
Oh,
you
thank
have
you.
such a beautiful way to converse with other people and to educate and to talk and to, you know, I, I look up to that because I think it's something that, like I have to find confidence in and to speaking. And I think
Yeah.
you do it so well. So when
Thank
I look
you.
at who inspires me, I only have bad bitch friends around, right?
Yes.
Like I only
Yes.
know the top. Like I'm like, you
Yeah.
got to be a bad bitch in some way. Either you're fucking making some arts and crafts over here, either you're the sticker queen, you got this,
Right.
you wrote a book, you have podcasts, you're a
Yes.
business owner, a brand owner, whatever it is, like you own it.
Yeah.
And I really think that we can find inspirations when your friend, like, I really think that your friend group and who you know in the cannabis industry and who you're like, oh, that's my friend right there.
Yeah.
They should be an inspiration to you. That's who you should be looking for when you're trying to make friends, you know, like
Absolutely.
she's a bad bitch too. I'm a bad bitch. Let's be friends.
Yes, I love that. God, I love that so much. I have to tell you, Sue, you are one of the women who comes up a lot in that question of which women are inspiring you in cannabis right now. Girl, yes. I mean, probably 4 or 5 times now. All right. And every time I'm like, damn it, I had her on, but we had really bad audio. So yeah. So I just, I love hearing your list of women. Thank you for even, giving me a seat at the table of that, the inspirational women. And yes, I hear what you're saying. It's just great advice for any woman, especially looking to make it in the cannabis industry. Look at who you are surrounding yourself with. And if you are not surrounding yourself with bad bitches who inspire you, then you need to level up, because that's really how to live, and that's how to get shit done, and that's how to accomplish and be successful. Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And sometimes as the person, it's yourself, and you look and you see all these bad bitches around, like, you have to be the one that levels up. You have to be the one that says, what the fuck am I bringing to the table?
Yes.
And I better make it good. Like, take your seat at the table, but bring your reasoning behind it, because just don't think that like everybody's going to, we want to be supportive of one another, but we also need to make sure that who we're connecting with are on the same page as us and that value the same things as us, and that can help produce the results that we need at that moment.
Oh God, that's so much truth right there. Just so much truth. Think about your own contributions to the table. Do you consider yourself that bad bitch? And if so, why? And how are you going to bring value? Because that really is, the way that these lasting like relationships happen. I mean, at this point in my life, I feel I can make relationships with people, over business much quicker than I do friendships. But friendships evolve from those business relationships. Right. And I think it's because it's like two parties coming together with something like value, mutual value for each other, and then bonus is like, oh my God, she's awesome. And I love her and I want to be best friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is always the bonus.
Okay. So last question, Sue. What advice do you have for 13-year-old Sue?
The thing is that I don't even want to give myself any advice, because I firmly believe that if my life wouldn't have happened the way that it happened, and like the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, everything like that. Yes. And if I would have had advice for myself, I may not be where I'm at today because I chose to do it a different way. And I could be doing something completely different. I could be in a completely different, not like I could do something in cannabis that's completely different. I could have a different, fiance. I could have a different friend group. I could have all these different things. And I don't want anything different. I love that I have everything that I have today because of who I was that made me that person.
That is so beautiful. So maybe,
and I don't know how to tell, if I could tell myself that, that's what I tell myself. I don't know. I guess yes, bitch is gonna be okay. You just gotta be the person you're gonna be, and your life will get figured out. I just stay true to myself, and that's really what it is.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Just that confidence keep that confidence. It's all gonna work out. And in ways, when I look back on things, I think, wow, I never thought it would work out like this. Like, how incredible. But yeah, it only takes the confidence, and you can only be where you are today because of the path that you took here. Right.
Oh yeah.
I love that. Give your 13-year-old self a freaking high five and be like, girl, you bad.
You bad bitch. Keep doing your, I'm like, you keep being bad over here, and you keep doing all the things because honestly, I'll be really honest. Like, I came from, having 10 years of pharmaceutical, just drug addiction, everything like that. And I'm just like, it was really tough on me. And but to say that I want my life where my life is at right now, I'm like, I would not be here without any of that stuff. So
No.
I'm like, if there was anything, it's like I kept pursuing the idea, like in my head, that I wanted to be in the cannabis industry, and that's really what led me to doing that. So if there's somebody young that has interest in being in this industry, we pay taxes. You'll pay your taxes. You'll have your job. You'll get your house loan. You'll do these things. You can have that as an idea of what you want to do. If you want to grow hemp later on, you can have that as a goal. You can be in Future Farmers of America and be like, I want to grow hemp. And that's
Yes.
what I want to do.
God.
I don't know. Just don't think it's stupid, and don't think that, don't listen to anybody. Just keep doing what you want to do. Rebel.
Right, right. Rebel, listen to your heart. If rebellion is listening to yourself, then bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Because you only have the one life to live. You can't live anyone else's life. God, I love this. Sue, I could talk to you freaking all day. And I will too. But please come back. I mean, let's just make this a regular thing, please. Whether or not we have video does not matter. Because the wisdom is just so incredible. How can people find you?
They can go to my Instagram, Ranchera Mami. But they can also go to rancherafamilia.com for all of our hemp flower and jewelry and other fun accessories that every cannabis queen should have in their life.
Yes, I am long overdue for a little shop on rancherafamilia.com. And when you said earrings, I have this, kind of new short haircut. I'm trying to only do earrings made by women and with a cannabis angle. And I don't know, it's going to be kind of a summer thing. So I think I'm going to have to get on right after this and do some shopping.
I love you.
I love you.
Yes,
You're
you let me
incredible.
know what you want and I'll make sure you get it.
My sister, you are so kind and so beautiful and so wonderful. I'm going to order what I want and I'll tell you that I have an order coming for myself. Okay, how about that?
Okay.
I want to support you and the work that you do and the work that your team does. It's not free. You're not doing this for just because it makes you happy. You are doing it because it makes you happy, but it's also, this is your livelihood. So if you guys want to support Ranchera Mami, Sue, Ranchera Familia, and all the beautiful work that she's doing, y'all go to rancherafamilia.com and get some pre-rolls. They are supreme premium hemp. This woman knows. She came down to Texas this year to speak at the Taste of Texas Hemp Cup and be a judge, okay, to help our farmers understand. So you guys support Sue and Ranchera Familia and all the beautiful work they're doing. And she's going to come back. So don't even worry about it. But if you have any questions for her, go ahead and leave comments on this podcast. And I'm sure Sue will come up and answer them. But guys, I just want to thank you so much for joining me today. Sue, thank you for gracing me with your beautiful presence. You are a queen and you are always welcome on the Feminized podcast. If you like this conversation, yes.
Thank you. I love you, Liz, and I can't wait to see you again in person. And I'm excited to see the final video.
Oh, it's going to be good. Trust me, it'll be good because we'll be able to use some still shots too with some video. It's going to be extra, just like you are, just like we are, really. But guys, if you like this conversation today, please feel free to subscribe so you never, ever miss an ounce of this wisdom. Until next time, guys, peace. If you'd like more, subscribe to the Feminized podcast on YouTube. Follow at Feminized with Liz Grow on Instagram. Special thanks to our sponsors, Moose Labs and Richard's Rainwater. The Feminized podcast is a Grow House Media production, created by Liz Grow, produced by Patrick Pope and Tanis Ray, with original theme music and audio mixing by Q at Q to King Productions in New Braunfels, Texas.